Before I get into the video, I just wanted to preface this by saying I will not be using very many clips in this video. That is because Paramount tends to block any videos I make with their films, and I don't want to deal with getting copyright flagged despite me having every right to use this footage in this context. Furthermore, I made a video in this series on the first film I recommend you watch first, as it's relevant to what I say in this video. Thanks, everyone. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen is one of those movies that everyone universally hates, and with good reason, as I hate it too. To this day, however, I'm surprised it's hated so much while the first Transformers seemingly gets a pass, because while it certainly sucks, as the title implies, I honestly hate it slightly less than the first one, and it comes down to one very simple point: clutter. But we'll come back to that. In the meantime, why don't you join me as I talk about why Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen sucks. I remember before this movie came out, Aiden and I were very excited for it. Being young and naive, I actually thought the first Transformers was a good film. Aiden and I would frequently check this old blog spot that featured leaks and news on the film, and we would discuss these leaks as we walked our dog Bosworth. R.I.P.
Left its scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
The consensus we came to is that the movie would be cool because of all the cool new Transformers like Skids and Mudflap. The new Transformers in this film include Skids and Mudflap, two racist characters of black people. They wear grills, speak street language, and are basically just robo-blackface. They're probably the most important new Autobots as they actually have a good amount of screen time. I guess they were supposed to be our comic relief for the film, but they truly do nothing of note besides accidentally breaking a wall that happened to have the Matrix behind it.
Oh, hey! You like the way that feels? That ain't hurt. You love that, don't you? I'm getting up. I'm getting up.
Next, we have Sideswipe, who's basically Jazz again. He's a cool Transformer who does nothing but kills one guy and says his name once to sell toys.
Bring in Sideswipe!
Clear it, pal.
The RC twins do nothing but show up for a few action sequences. Jolt, a character who must have been cut because we literally just see him as a car and once briefly, but don't worry, they sold toys of him too. Wheelie, who's also more nauseating comic relief, he does little of note besides humping Megan Fox's leg. And Jetfire, who's an old cranky Decepticon who becomes an Autobot because that's what happened in the cartoon. He also kills himself to merge with Optimus Prime in the climax.
Optimus, take my power. Fulfill your destiny.
Ratchet and Ironhide return as glorified side characters.
Alright, Ironhide. We got echoes. You're close. Steel stacks, 2 o'clock.
We also have the main two Autobots, Bumblebee and Optimus, the former of which kind of just shows up and shoots stuff, and the latter who just shows up, shoots stuff, dies for half the film, then returns to kill our villain.
You picked the wrong planet. Give me your faith.
In terms of Decepticons, we have Megatron, who's brought back from the dead basically just to stand around. Starscream, who shows up and gets yelled at by Megatron and stands around. We have that one Transformer who turns into a hot girl to try to kidnap Sam. The rest are just cannon fodder.
Okay, look.
Wait! I can explain everything!
Our main villain this time around is the Fallen, who is a Prime like Optimus Prime. He wants to harvest our sun with the Matrix, or as I'll call it, the MacGuffin 2. Apparently he can only be killed by Prime, which I don't really understand why that is, but that's what they keep saying. He dies really easily though once Optimus comes back and merges with Jetfire. Now it's time to talk about the real beef of the movie, the humans. This is where the real story happens. In this film, Sam goes off to college, leaving Michaela and his parents behind. Sadly, they still show up. I'll get back to that. He touches a fragment of the Allspark, which, as I understand, implants symbols into his mind, which will give him a riddle, which will guide the person who deciphers the riddle to the MacGuffin. At least in this film, Sam has a reason to be here beyond, "Bumblebee is my car." He's a little less whiny in this one and acts a little more like a protagonist, which I appreciate. However, he's still kind of annoying. Next we have Michaela. She's the eye candy of the film, primarily used for Michael Bay's gratuitous ass shots, and wants Sam to say he loves her. That is basically her entire character in this film. Her character is probably worse than in the first one. We also have Leo. He's another comic relief character and pretty much acts like a mixture of the Sector 7 man and Sam from the first one. His character motivation is that he's basically with Sam when he's thrown into his quest, so he's kind of just there. Sector 7 guy returns to help Sam and he works at a deli now. He doesn't do much more than just show back up and climb a pyramid. Not Orlando Bloom Military Man is here, he just shows up and is like the liaison to the Autobots or something, and he shoots stuff. Finally, we have Sam's parents. They're extra annoying in this one, and just sit around spewing stupid one-liners as before. They also try to force some emotional scenes with Sam, which do nothing for me. Well, that basically covers all of the characters, and this loops back around to my first point on why I like this film more than the first. It actually focuses on Sam Witwicky a lot more, and makes his character a lot better than in the first one. He's a stronger character, and gets a lot more screen time, as his parts aren't bogged down with hackers he has nothing to do with, military people he has nothing to do with, senators he has nothing to do with, and Sector 7 people he has nothing to do with. At least in this one, the side characters are all part of Sam's story, and interact with them rather than just wasting screen time like in the first one. The Transformers don't really have a level of establishment in this one, but who cares? The Transformers don't really drive the plot in this film series, so I'd rather have them do nothing until it's time to get in a shootout and actually establish our main character, which this film does well, at least by comparison. Okay, so the humor in this one's a little worse than the first one. This film doubles down on the sexual jokes. We have things like the little chihuahua humping the other dog,
Mojo, no dominating Frankie.
Wheelie humping Megan Fox,
Who's your little Autobot?
Oh, you're cute.
Name's Wheelie. Yeah. Say my name. Say my name.
and of course the infamous Devastator testicles.
I am directly below. Enemy scrotum.
We also have a lot more comic relief characters, like Skids and Mudflap, whose entire joke is that they're black stereotypes.
Old school, yo. That's Cybertronian.
Oh, that's some serious stuff right there.
They gotta mean something, like a message.
Read? We don't really do much reading.
Get it? Michael Bay thinks black people are stupid. Yeah, Skids and Mudflap are pretty horrible. We also have Leo, who's a conspiracy theorist. He's also clumsy and tases his ball sack. Sam's parents continue to be Sam's parents. Sam's mom cries repeatedly, which is supposed to be funny, but it's just annoying. And Sam's dad is a Jewish stereotype, just like before. I really don't have much more to say about the humor, except the humor is bad. For some reason, The Fallen does nothing in this film until the last 30 minutes. Megatron kidnaps Sam once, I guess that's something, but the main story of the film is a dollar store Indiana Jones adventure about Sam looking for the new MacGuffin with knowledge he gained from the old MacGuffin. It's really boring. Even though Sam is wanted, there's never any real conflict. Ultimately, Sam just finds the Matrix, a big fight happens, and our main villain dies. The movie really just does confusing and random shit up to that point. I guess I'll make a slide about the good stuff this movie does. The cinematography looks less shitty in this one, for one. It doesn't look like Michael Bay pissed all over the lens like in the first movie. It still has that distinct Michael Bay look, but certainly not to the obnoxious levels of the first one. The fights are also shot a lot better. I can actually tell what's going on to an extent, which is something I couldn't say about the first one at all. That's really all the good stuff this film has. Aside from expanding Sam's character and looking a lot better, there's really not much to say in terms of positive aspects. This film plays 21 Guns by Green Day like 3 times. It also has the most dated music choices you could possibly imagine. You know that scene in Amazing Spider-Man 2 where Peter's in his room and Gone, Gone, Gone by Philip Phillips plays? Yeah, that's this entire film. This film is too long. It's 2.5 hours. Really, they could have cut a lot of stuff out. Of course, the horny humor is pretty bad. I've already talked about that. The Transformers don't really have anything to do, but I've already kind of touched on that. I don't really have much more to say. I guess the movie meanders around for the entirety of its plot. So that's the bad stuff about it. I surprisingly don't have a ton to say about this film aside from that, honestly. While the movie has tons of annoying moments, it's racist, it's unfunny, and it's bloated, I still feel like it's better than the first film. The first movie has way too many characters, it's also bloated, it's shot like shit, it looks like shit, the humor is also terrible. This movie has one lead, which we follow through the whole film, a story that, while incomprehensible, is just as incomprehensible as the last one, but at least we have one storyline to keep track of, not 15. The villain doesn't do anything the whole time, but in fairness, neither does Megatron in the last one. And finally, it's shot a lot less obnoxiously. Does Transformers Revenge of the Fallen suck? Of course, it's a horrible film. I still like it better than the first movie, so I guess there's that at least. Anyway, that's all for today. I'll do Transformers 3 eventually if you guys liked this video, but I'll probably wait a while, honestly. I really have to hate myself that week to subject myself to these films, if you want to call them that. I guess subscribe if you liked it. Recommend more stuff for me to review. Recommend more stuff for me to do. I don't know. Do whatever.